so that we can get through the 5 questions. And then have 15 minutes at the end to do a concluding activity where we can think about, 3 things that are new to you that you had, 3 things that you learned, and 2 ideas. Let me take a look here. Yeah, 2 ideas that might work in your location, and then an idea that you are going to make a priority for action. So I would ask you that as you listen to the discussion today, that you be thinking about that concluding activity as you listen. Let's see here. I want to introduce our panelists today, and maybe I'll start with myself so that you know who I am. My name is Ann Minster, and I am a founding member of Fox Cities Advocates for Public Education. And then prior to that, I was a community organizer in the Fox Cities with Organizing for America and later Organizing for Action. And as an organizer with OFA, I then helped to form groups dedicated to getting money out of politics and public education and gun violence prevention. And I do have considerable experience in building media-worthy events, so that is an area where I feel like I have some particular expertise. And my advocacy work in retirement was preceded by a 33-year career as a speech and language pathologist in the applicant schools. Now, we have with us 3 panelists. I'll start with Carol to my right. Carol is also a member of Fox Cities Advocates for Public Education for the past 2 years. And Carol was a lifelong educator, but her experience as both an educator and mother have prepared her well to advocate on behalf of all children. And she retired from the Kimberly Area School District after a 39-career career as a music teacher and band director. And she resides in Appleton. Then Gail Homestead
right.
is a retired educator and member of Project 13 and Deliberative Community Conversations in Eau Claire. So we are going across to the other side of our state. And she began her advocacy for public education as a member of the Wisconsin State Reading Association and as a promoter of the 2006 convention of the Reading Association. And so she happened to invite speakers that were critical of the No Child Left Behind Act. And it was partially the call of those 2 women that she invited to speak that led her to become, to raise her voice as an advocate. And then Sean Rowland to our right is the president of the Wauwatosa School Board and a founding member of SOS Wauwatosa, Save Our Schools, SOS TOSA for short. And Sean has 3 children within the Wauwatosa schools and has worked in communications and advocacy for more than 15 years. So we're gonna maybe close this. Jordan, thank you. And we'll get started. Just a couple of things. Because we want to learn from each other, I think it might be helpful to remember that we're going to be courteous. We will be courteous to one another. So I guess as a retired educator, that means, one person talks at a time. Let's not have side conversations. And then the step up, step back is fairly common around making sure that we get every voice in the room, so that if you find yourself maybe talking more than somebody else, to kind of step back. And also, if you're one of those people that tends to just kind of let others take the lead, that you be courageous and step up and share what you have to contribute, because I know that each of you do. Each of you has things to contribute. And then to honor the limited time we have, I am going to be keeping time. I'm going to be keeping time because we have 5 really important questions about different constituencies that we need to build relationships with to be effective in our advocacy work. And so to get through those 5 questions, we need to respect time. So any questions? No? Okay. Well, we will get started then. I'm going to ask our panelists to begin by giving their snapshot of their local advocacy group. Karen, would you like to go first?
So Ann already mentioned that Fox Cities Advocates for Public Education started a few years. She's one of the founding members. I've only been active with the group maybe 2.5 years. So that's what I know about it. We currently have a monthly meeting. We meet every month. Our meetings usually have between 8 and a dozen people who come, and it's not always the same people. It varies a little bit. I think we have about people that have come to the meetings. We've probably had about 75 different people over the years. Like I said, not everybody comes to every meeting. We do have a core group of members, probably of about 10, who come almost every time and are very active in the group. In addition to that, we have a general email list of about 400 names. These are people that have participated in our activities at some point or another and signed up for our email list. So that's pretty good. And then when we need support on an issue or we need some advocacy done, those are the people we reach out to. Jim Bowman, who's also giving a presentation here, is our coordinator. He is also a member of the Appleton School District School Board, so that is very helpful. We have no money, so that's always an issue. We do have a little bit in the treasury right now that we have accumulated from donations. We have never done a fundraiser, so that's kind of an issue of concern for us. And one of the things that we did spend some money on was the brochure. So if you didn't get one, I can hand you one out, and there are some at our display out there. Okay.
Thank you, Carol.
First of all, a disclaimer. I'm not dying, but if you hear me coughing, I'm getting over this illness that I've had. I'm much better, and I'm not contagious. But you will see water down here and cough drops galore, so I hope that will be okay. Anyway, I represent Project 13, and we had, there was this lingering concern, or I shouldn't say lingering, it was a very big concern about school funding, public school funding. So we wanted to raise awareness. And it came about, and I think this probably was the 2013 or 2014 budget, when the Wisconsin State Legislature voted into law $100 million of tax surplus that was to go back to the school aid formula. Unfortunately, because of the revenue caps in 1993, that money, not 1 cent, went back to the public schools. It couldn't because of our revenue caps. So instead, it went back as property tax reduction. So a group of women, and I was kind of a late comer to this whole thing, but there was a group of about 6 people that said we need to raise awareness, not so much the money, but we need to raise awareness of what's happening. And so we formed the Project 13, and we presented, we planned, we presented it to the Eau Claire School Board, and the goal was to collect $1 for each of the 11,100 students that we have. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Project 13 is over, and we went into another project called the Coalition for Citizen Engagement and Public Education, where we went around and listened to community groups.
Thank you, Gail.
Great.
Sean Rowland.
I'm Sean Rolland. Nice to meet everybody. Thanks for coming. So our origin story for SOS Wauwatosa was our superintendent of the schools invited just a group of parents in and sent an email to the full school district saying, hey, there's the 2015-2017 budget is happening. Come learn, if you'd like to, just to know kind of what's going on. So a group of about 25 to 30 parents showed up, and the superintendent sort of just laid it out saying, okay, the legislature is planning to cut X amount of millions of dollars from the state budget. So we said, well, how does that impact our kids? We all have kids in the schools, what does that really mean? We got to press and press and press and sort of ask again and again. We're really like, what would our school district do? What would be cut? What would happen? So we heard a number of things that could potentially happen. So when we figured out, okay, that's a story that lots of parents will want to know about in the community. We need to tell people about this. So that night, stayed up late, made a logo and a website and a Facebook page and a yard sign design, and just said, okay, look, my background was in public relations and political campaigns, and just like, look, we've got to organize around this, guys, and let people know across Wauwatosa that this is a parent-led, parent-powered group of people who care deeply about our kids' schools and want the best for our kids. And this state budget that's coming down the pike is unacceptable to us. So we're a nonpartisan, awareness-driving organization that works to educate parents and community members across Wauwatosa and across the state to help us out. So now, subsequently, got elected to the Wauwatosa School Board, because I think the school board plays just as much of a role in advocacy as a parent-led coalition can, and the two can work together really well. And I just think, you'll hear in different sessions throughout today about the importance of coalition building between a school board, a parent-led group, realtors, any partner organization that would stand with you and advocate in the same ways. Thank you very much. Look forward to talking.
Well, Sean, that was a great segue into the first question, because there are lots of constituencies that we need to build relationships with, and you mentioned a number of those. So let's get started then with our first question, and again, each of you will have 2 minutes to share, and then we'll open it up for 3 minutes. So let's start. Sean, why don't we start with you then, if that's okay. How do you build and maintain positive relationships with your core team, the people closest to leadership at SOS Tosa?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, we didn't really know where to go. We weren't sure if we could have permission to meet in the schools or not, and there was sort of opposition, folks who believed that we shouldn't be able to meet in the schools. We're like, okay, we just gotta scrap that and just figure somewhere else. So we really just invited each other into our homes. A colleague who was in our group had a law firm, so not a law firm, but like a law practice, that she had some office space. So at times we would meet there, at times other people would just sort of do like a potluck dinner, bring the kids, they'll all play with together, and we'll just chat about how do we go forward. So that was sort of how we initially built the relationships, learned about each other, met each other, and became not just anonymous people who were at one meeting, but friends and colleagues and Facebook friends, and learned about our families and all that. So that was really key, I think, to building personal relationships. After that, we've been do a lot of events through email, and then once email sort of became a little too much, we all downloaded this Slack app. I don't know if people have ever heard of Slack, but it's basically a community management app that's just free, where you can almost like message each other, but it was a good way for us to stay organized. Every group will have its own organizational system that will be right for you, so I think you just need to decide what's right for you. Is it in person? If you got busy folks, is it email? Is it an app? Is it a website? Is it a closed Facebook group that only your group can access? Is there some other mechanism? Just stay organized and stay together.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Gail?
Well, first of all, building relationships, there were 6 people who originally started this. 2 of them, or one of them, had taught at the university, was an adjunct, as I was, after retiring from 30 years of public school teaching. And then we had, 2 school board members. So you're right. Being connected to the school board really helped our effort. We had all brought to this group all of the advocacy that we had done. As I said, I was a part of Wisconsin State Reading Organization. And having one of the conferences, I brought in the people who really, from the National Reading Panel, which was the foundation for No Child Left Behind. And so we talked, had her speak, and she presented online to a lot of other public school districts. So that was one way. I had also been part of what was called the Progressive Writing Workshop. We had come together to write letters to the editor and so on. So that's kind of what I brought to it, along with several of the other people. And there were some that belonged to Citizen Action. So we had lots of groups. And we were already connected to one another in another way, and that was we had all taught in the Eau Claire School District or had served on the school board. And this I think is an important thing. We wanted to have a common understanding, even though our goal was to support and what should I say, publicize what was happening to school funding. We read a book by Jamie Vollmer. Have you ever read that? The guy that started the Blueberry story? Okay. And his book that we used was Schools Cannot Do It Alone, Building Public Support for America's Public Schools. So that kind of formed the basis of our action.
What's not her name?
Jamie Vollmer, and I'll spell the last name, V-O-L-L-M-E-R. First name, Jamie. And the title again was Schools Cannot Do It Alone. He also gave us a way to present to people.
I think that, if I can jump in, it means
Please.
that the people that are working together have shared values.
Exactly.
And that reading that text together brought you to a place where you had shared understanding around the
Exactly.
issues.
Thank you. You put that so beautifully. Thank you.
Carol.
And am I remembering right, you gave that text to legislators?
Yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
It was a gift or whatever, a loan or whatever to legislators. I remember that story too.
Yeah.
Our core team, like I said, we probably have about 8 to a dozen members who meet quite regularly, but the list is about 75 who get the invitation to the meetings. And then they also get the follow-up minutes to the meeting. So I guess we keep in contact mostly via email, but I'm liking some of these other ideas, so I'm gonna have to grab a pencil in a minute and start writing some of them down. We also have had a number of people who have gone through the WILD training, Wisconsin Leadership Development Training. And I think that has helped our core group a lot too. So that might be something to think about as you're thinking about your group. That's been very beneficial. A problem we have, which we haven't solved yet, so maybe somebody out here has some ideas. We represent 6 big communities. So how to get a better representation of people from other communities besides just Appleton, for example. That's one of our biggest issues right now that, you know, we're looking for ideas on that. Okay, I'm gonna grab a pencil.
You still have 35 seconds, Carol.
I'm done though.
Really?
You can add if you want.
Well, I just, maybe something to add since we're both part of the same group is that we've learned over a period of time of working together, there's various skills that each of us has and a trust within us that really helps us in working together as we have, you know, trusted, committed relationships with each other. Okay, so the second question, oh wait, now, your turn. Okay, I'm gonna set this up here to have people share then. Yes, yeah, Annie.
Just a quick question. You mentioned something that some of your group got training in something called WILD.
Wild.
WILD. Would you just-
Wisconsin Leadership Development Project, and their website is WISProj, W-I-S-P-R-O-J.
W-I-L-D P-R-O-J.
I don't think so.
WILDPROJ.org.
Okay.
Maybe somebody can try it.